Life's too short to drive boring cars. Do you have family? Do you have friends? Maybe relatives, uncles, aunts are shopping for some cars here recently. Obviously, there's lots of interesting vehicles on the market as you see here, but not everything is worth owning because there's a lot of garbage on the market. And I'm telling you, I'll give you a list of 5 vehicles that I just couldn't, in my right mind, let my family buy. And hopefully it helps you prevent your family from making the same mistakes. Let's get into it now. So the first vehicle is what we have parked behind us here, and it's the BMW Mini. That's right, they look cute, they look unassuming, and they look fun. And actually, they are fun, but all the other factors maybe not as much. Let's take a look. These vehicles, I couldn't in my right mind let family or friends buy these vehicles. I mean, they look great, sure. Let's take a look. We have a Mini, and this is the S model right there. You'll notice great little hood scoop on both of these versions. Awesome little fog lights, and a great little marvelous style of grille. A very, very attractive little car from top to bottom. Got your classic bug eye headlights on both of these models. Right there, interesting wheels, even though they're aftermarket, and there, those are more the originals right there. Great huge glass sunroof on top. Very sporty and muscular looking hood. I mean, I love these little flared hoods right there. And you'll notice it's essentially equivalent to a clamshell. You get the plastic protection there as well as along the rocker panels, and it's the S model. How about these beautiful round mirrors? Very retro looking, as are these handles, very retro looking front and back. 4 doors here, and I love the rear tail finish on these vehicles. As you circle around, you'll notice it actually has a very muscular stance. Center mounted tailpipes, great vehicle. And again, it's the Cooper S, so this is definitely the higher output version. Great little tail lights, very retro looking. Also retro looking gas cap. And the interior has many, many different retro appeals as well as high quality finishing. Just look at the seats. And this one's a manual shift. And that's good because the early generation Minis with the CVT automatic transmissions were horrible. Catastrophic failure. Yes, they were terrible. Get the manual. If you really need to own one of these, the manual is the only way to go. But with that said, clutches are weak in them as well. Power steering pumps are a problem with these vehicles, as are water pumps leaking coolant. Oil leaks on these vehicles, loose timing chains, and of course catastrophic failure altogether. You can get rattling noises from the timing chain. Hopefully you have enough warning to get that fixed before it actually goes. And sadly, because this is a BMW underneath, everything that goes to BMW in terms of maintenance and repair costs is applicable to the Mini. So don't let its cutesy-pootsy little look to it fool you. This vehicle is going to cost you a whole lot of money, it's lacking reliability, and quite frankly, leave this on the car lot. Look for something a little bit more like this. And the next vehicle is this little cutie right here. And if you ever thought, hey, some of my relatives, they've always thought maybe it'd be fun to have a small, low-cost, entry-level BMW like this beautiful 3 Series right here. Let's take a quick look around. Everybody loves a BMW, right? Right there, BMW, and it's got that newer style of grille. How about these beautiful LED headlights? And the front bumper definitely looks slightly sporty. How about those wheels? And we scroll down the side, and you'll notice it has some great shapes and contours all the way down to the end, where we're talking about a 320i. And it's an X-Drive, that means it's an all-wheel drive. It's good for snow and ice. One little chute out the back there, and nothing on the other side because this is more of a base model. This has a turbo 4-cylinder engine tucked under the hood there. Gotta love those taillights. And that little sunroof on top. How about this wonderful high quality handles, as well as the old school handles with the old fashioned key lock entrance. And these mirrors with that wonderful little LED strip. A very basic looking front hood, although you've got a couple of strips up the center. And we go to the inside, where the interior quality is always top shelf on all of these BMWs. Got some nice brushed aluminum finishing and a relatively modern style of iDrive system. But why wouldn't I let my neighbors and relatives and friends own this vehicle? That's because it has what they actually call the N20 engine, which is the turbo 4-cylinder engine, but they've made the B48 engine recently, which is also 2-liter turbo 4, but it's vastly improved. This N20 was very problematic. Part of the issue was the extended oil service intervals meant that a lot of times the oil filters would start to dissolve and they even start collapsing. Other issues with this is coolant leaks, oil leaks, but most importantly with that N20 is the timing chain rattle issue with these vehicles and outright timing chain failure altogether. A very well-known problem, and particularly even worse in the earlier generations of the N20 engine, but nonetheless anything with the turbo 4-cylinder engine leading up to the B48 in the current models means that you're taking a chance. The BMW 3 Series. And then the next vehicle that I would literally steer all my family and friends away from are these behemoths, and it's the Jeep Wranglers. That's right. The older school TJs and YJs, they were a lot more robust, but now in recent years, since they've got the 3.6 liter V6 diesel engines available and the 4 cylinders, the more recent Jeeps are now a serious problem. Sure, they look great. I mean, look at these things. You've got your Tonka truck look. The front grille definitely stinks of Jeep. Obviously, newer style headlights, tow hooks on the front. How about that big, beefy looking bumper to push through the bush? How about the oversized wheels right there? Gotta love these. Very robust, great for hitting the bush. And who doesn't love this style? That's why people love these. It has a very authentic off-roading look to it. Even the windows fold down and the doors lift off just by pulling hinges. Very versatile, and that roof can go away too, and you can buzz around in a Southern California sun in fun and frivolity. That's why these are so popular. They're good in the sun, they're also good in the bush. That's if you make it to the bush. But let's keep going. Looking down the side, obviously we got some great stepping boards, and you've got this tough little mirror. But these do leak there, that's a known issue, and fill up the vehicle like a basket of water. There you've got a tough little handle and another one, but you'll notice these do lift off and you can remove the doors. Plastic guards, again, they're very sturdy in the bush. And a very kit car looking taillight assembly, going to be very affordable to change. And of course, who doesn't like the versatility of having a spare wheel just hanging off the back, not consuming any space under the trunk. You can tow a small boat and as well tow your buddies out of the mud with this as well. What's not to love about a Jeep? They look great and they're versatile. But that's just the problem. The older TJs with the straight 6 4-liter engine were workhorses. You coupled that with the manual gearbox, you had a Jeep that was good for 3, 4, 500,000 miles. Guess what? Such is not the case anymore with these vehicles. Now you've got the issue with the TIPM, which is a control module which has all the electric come into one spot. That module fails, everything goes out. Lights, tachometer, gas levels, I mean, all kinds of different things start to fail. Very troublesome. You also get the speed wobble, of course, as the bottom of the vehicle with all the suspension design in there is made for off-road. But as a result, these vehicles get a little wallowy and the front end gets a little loose. So sadly, with some time and miles, this vehicle becomes very dangerously unstable at high speed. On top of that, throttle position sensors are issues with there where the vehicle starts to surge and hunt. Transmission is a problem, as they are in many of these Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler products. And as a whole, the vehicle just isn't all that reliable. And as I showed you before, it can tow, but the problem is a vehicle like this should be able to haul more, but it has a very, very poor tow rating, and unfortunately, it's thirsty like a pig. It guzzles fuel like it's going out of style. Honestly, one that I would steer my family away from. And another one I really can't advocate for is this Nissan parked behind me here. Here, let's take a quick look at this. Obviously, this is a beater nonetheless. And of course, as such, it's seen its better days. But this vehicle here, everybody loves a mini SUV, but these aren't all that well made. Right there, you've got a very big bulbous style of headlight, pretty basic style of wheels. Look at this basic mirror assembly. And a very basic looking handle, although it is keyless, and the rear as well is matching chrome. How about the back? It definitely has that raked look to it, like most other SUVs today. But the Rogue by Nissan isn't all that well made. Even though it's all-wheel drive, and many people like the versatility of being able to haul through the snow and ice, and there's quite a few of these on the road, even with the junk rack on top, and a trunk that can haul a bunch of junk, and the all-wheel drive system. It does appear that this vehicle has a certain amount of, flexibility? But the main problem with the Rogue is the gearbox. It's a CVT, the variable transmission, and a lot of the modern day Nissans as well as the Infinitis unfortunately run a CVT. This is no different. Earlier generations were even worse. It's the same kind of transmission that you find in an off-road quad. It's just not meant for the street, in my opinion. But these have those, and they're not very reliable. As a matter of fact, there's been class action lawsuits related to that. At the end of the day, Nissan, since they went away from their bread and butter, now have vehicles that are unfortunately slightly less than reliable. I personally wouldn't recommend the Nissan Rogue. And another vehicle that I really just have to recommend against any of my family members buying is the Volkswagen EOS, like the one back here. This has the EA888 engine, TSI or TFSI engines, 2-liter displacement, lots of problems. Let's take it from the top. But before we do, let's take a look. I mean, they're very attractive little cars, and when they first came out, they were talk of the town, and they were all the rave. I mean, take a look at it. Got the great little headlights on there by Volkswagen. Very attractive little car. Why? Because the roof comes down and it becomes a convertible. Right there, interesting wheels by Volkswagen. And of course you've got this interesting little mirror with LED strip. And there's your roof that retracts. Even though you've got clear glass, it all flips back. Here's your typical small Volkswagen style handles. And you've got a great little taillight assembly and the 2-liter TSI engine, as I mentioned. That's the very problematic one that we all know about by Volkswagen. And when you look down here, you've got the dual exhaust on the one side and a great little splitter. And overall, it's a very, very attractive little car. And I can see why people love to buy these things. And they're not overly expensive, but there's a problem here. Number one, huge oil consumption, class action lawsuit style to take care of that. Clock spring on the steering wheel, Takata airbag is an issue. Timing chains, which were known to catastrophically fail. That was a big issue with this particular style of engine. The water pump was a big issue as well, class action lawsuit, because it was driven off the balance shaft, it was plastic, and it failed regularly. Very expensive repair nonetheless. But what about the inside? Kind of an average looking interior, but classic for Volkswagen. And the problem is it filled up with water. Why? Because that roof would leak and you'd fill up the entire car and wet everything down. That was another issue, and that roof would stop working from time to time. So in short, very cute, very fun, but it's the shared engine with Audi Volkswagen Group that's plagued with issues, particularly the timing chain issue and high oil consumption. Problematic car, looks cute, but I'd skip it and find something better. The Volkswagen EOS. And with all of that said, be sure to click on right there. There's a whole list of vehicles that will not make it 60,000 miles. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.